And first we'll do a quick safety check to make sure we are free and clear of all ammunition. The Accelerator pistol does have a last round bolt hold open, so with the magazine inserted, we'll go ahead and just pull the slide back and lock it to the rear. So with your make sure your finger stays off the trigger. We'll go ahead and lock the slide back, and as we can see in the chamber area, it is free and clear. We'll go ahead and remove the magazine, and we can see the magazine is free and clear. So we're now good to start looking at the design and controls of the Accelerator pistol. It's a polymer frame pistol. It has an aluminum top rib. Of course, it has the stainless steel barrel and slide. It does have a charging or a bolt handle that's attached to the slide. The slide does have grasping serrations on both sides, as we can see here. However, they are fairly sharp, and the recoil spring on this is fairly stout. So you do have the capability there of kind of cheese gratering your fingertips if you're not careful. So the charging handle is a very nice addition. It is a single action trigger. It does have a very heavy trigger pull, so it's definitely not a target, trigger out of the box anyway. The top does have a rail for mounting optics of various types. It does have adjustable rear sight and just a fixed blade front sight. The slide release right there. The magazine does activate that. It has a little lever shelf right there that engages a lever on the inside, so that on that last round, as the slide locks back, that would lift that up and lock the slide back. And as you can see, that can be done manually as well. It has a safety right there. Of course, this is in the fire position. You would lift up for safe, and that blocks the sear from being able to release the hammer. So there's the safety. So we're all set there. That's pretty much all the controls. The magazine release itself is a heel style release. It's located right here. So you put the magazine in, it latches onto the back of it there. So you just have to lift that back, and then the magazine can come out. It doesn't really drop out. You have to kind of pull it out. There is no magazine interlock, so the firearm would be able to fire with the magazine in or out. So as far as disassembly, the first step would be to remove this screw here and the screw right there, and remove this top aluminum cover. There's two different size Allen screws that are needed. It comes with them. One's a 5/32 hex key, and the other one's a 1/8 inch hex key. I'm just going to use my normal bits that I use. So first we'll take the first one off, the front one, and that's the 5/32. And then next we have the 1/8. Now the rear one does have a lock washer that's on it, so you want to make sure you keep track of that. Now you want to kind of hold this down when you take those screws off. The recoil spring is housed by that top cover, and on the off chance that it's could work its way loose, you just want to carefully lift this up and off. And we can see here now, there's the recoil spring. It hooks up to a steel post that's hooked to the barrel. The back part of the spring loops around a little hook that's on the slide. So the next step would be to remove that recoil spring, and it's generally easiest to just kind of grasp the spring and just push forward while lifting up to take it off that front post. And then it just comes off. And at this point you can just lift the slide off the frame. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the frame assembly first. Of course, here's our hammer. As I said, it's an internal hammer. There's our ejector right there, that when the slide comes back, that would kick the shell out and kick it out, and to eject it. And that's pretty much it. Now this does have a trigger safety, so the trigger does have to be pulled to allow the firing pin to release the firing pin all the way to be able to allow it to shoot. We'll take a look at that when we take a look at the slide. So during normal field and cleaning and operation of this, you don't really need to completely disassemble it like this. This is not really considered field, stripping, so to speak. The manual recommends that it just be cleaned without disassembling like this, and you should only disassemble it if it gets really, really dirty or if there's some other type of a problem. So normally you'd be able to just lock the slide back, and you'd have enough access to be able to get in there to clean it out. And so we'll go ahead and set that aside. Here we have the slide. There's the rebound spring for the firing pin. That's the firing pin right there. And the hammer would hit the back of it right here, and it would go forward and then protrude out there to fire the cartridge. This is our extractor right here. The extractor is held in place with that Allen screw. So if you would need to do any service with to that. And this section right here, that is the firing pin safety or interlock. The firing pin, if you note, it will not protrude all the way. It just comes flush. To make that protrude all the way, the trigger, when you operate that, would lift up a section, and it's right there, that would pivot down, which would lift up on that. And when that lifts up, that would lift up, and when that lifts up, that allows the firing pin to go all the way forward, and at that point it protrudes to be able to fire the cartridge. So as far as the operation of it, this is as far as you'd really want to take this down. The various springs and stuff in there are held in place by pins. So for just normal cleaning, like I said, the manual doesn't even recommend that you take it this far down. However, in general practice, I tend to disassemble the firearm somewhat so I can get access to all of the nooks and crannies and everything and make sure it gets cleaned out. But basically, you would just want to give everything a good scrub down on here. Use with good quality solvent cleaner, and then a light coating of oil. That coating would be for corrosion prevention and also for lubrication to allow everything to function smoothly. So reassembly is really just it's just the opposite of what we were trying to do. One note I will put on here: with the slide off, do not pull the trigger. The hammer would over travel and it could damage internal components. So you'd want to just don't do that. So as far as reassembly, you simply lower the slide back on, and as you can see, this is basically an operation that just goes back and forth like that. You put your recoil spring on, so there's a little hook, it's right there, and you would hook the spring onto that, and then kind of keeping that from flipping forward. So you don't want to just lift up, like on the spring. So kind of hold that down while pushing forward on the spring, and put it over that post. And then once that's on, the next step would be to take the top cover and just put it back into place. And then make sure you have your lock washer still on there, and put that screw in. Don't necessarily tighten it down yet, just kind of get it started, just so it's in position. Then put the front screw in. And just make sure it gets started. And then once they're both started, go ahead and snug them down. Now keep in mind this is aluminum, so you don't want to over tighten it too much, but you do want to make sure that they stay in place. And once that's tightened down, put our magazine back in, and we are all reassembled.